the U.S. has delivered on a promise to get more aid into Gaza. Earlier today, Washington confirmed it had made its first airdrop into the territory, joining several nations led by Jordan that have parachuted humanitarian relief to desperate Palestinians. This is video of the aid airdrop over the Gaza coastline. The U.S. military says more flights are being planned, but several relief agencies are critical of the operation, with one describing airdrops as, quote, a lousy way to deliver aid. Meanwhile, chaotic scenes on the ground in Gaza City as a crowd of desperate Palestinians swarm an aid truck loaded with flour. The UN says Gaza's entire population does not get enough food to eat each day, with many on the verge of starvation. The U.S. says airdrops will provide, quote, essential relief to civilians affected by the ongoing conflict. The delivery comes just 2 days after more than 100 Palestinians were killed while scrambling for humanitarian help, and as U.S. President Joe Biden faces intense pressure at home and abroad to intervene. CBC's Dominic Velitis tells us more.
It was a combined effort involving US and Jordanian C-130 aircraft. We're told more than 38,000 meals were dropped along Gaza's coastline to make it easier and presumably safer for civilians to access. More will potentially follow. Now, there are certainly challenges when it comes to delivering humanitarian aid in this way, something that was acknowledged by White House spokesperson John Kirby shortly after President Joe Biden made the announcement yesterday. Here's what he had to say.
It is extremely difficult to do an airdrop in such a crowded environment as is Gaza. Very, very densely populated, a lot of people confined to small spaces. So you want to do it in a way that you can get it to as close as you can to the people in need, but not in a way that puts them in any danger. And so the Pentagon will be doing a raft of planning on this. They'll work their way through that.
Airdrops are really seen as a last resort, as well as being potentially dangerous to people on the ground, as you just heard. They are expensive, they require Air Force coordination, and they can be inaccurate. Indeed, we saw that when Jordan recently attempted airdropping aid into Gaza, with some of it ending up in the sea. So I think the fact that so many countries are now attempting to deliver aid in this way is really an indication of just how desperate the humanitarian situation is now in Gaza. Ellen.
And as we mentioned, Dom, this comes as leaders call for an investigation into the deadly aid convoy incident that left over 100 Palestinians dead on Thursday. What can you tell us about that mounting pressure?
Well, adding to it is a report from the UN, which says its observers visited Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital shortly after Thursday's incident, and that they saw around 200 people there being treated, many of whom they claim had suffered gunshot wounds. Now, those reports obviously contradict Israeli claims that troops merely fired warning shots at the crowds after deeming them a threat, and that the majority of the 100-plus killed on Thursday were either trampled or run over in the chaos which ensued. The incident has generated huge concern around the world. Canada is among the very latest countries to condemn the killings and call for a thorough investigation. In a post on X, which we can show you now, Global Affairs Canada said it is deeply troubled by the deaths and now expects a full, transparent and credible investigation into what happened in Gaza on Thursday. There is huge concern now about the humanitarian situation in Gaza, with the UN warning that more than 500,000 people, so about a quarter of the territory's entire population, are now one step away from famine. Ellen.
That was the CBC's Dominic Velitis tracking the story in London.